In today's video, we're going to be learning how to cut this pinafore short gown, and this is so easy to make. So let's get right into the video. So for drafting the upper part of this gown, I'm going to be marking my starting line. Now after my starting line, I will go ahead and mark my waist measurement. That's my shoulder to my waist measurement. Now my shoulder to my waist measurement is 18, but I'll be marking at 16. I'll be leaving 2 inches for my band. So that band of 2 inches will be completing my half length. So when I'm cutting out my band, I'll just add half inch for my sewing allowance so that the pinafore will sit well around my waist. Okay, so now I'll just go ahead and mark my shoulder measurement. My shoulder is 8. I'll be removing 1 inch from my shoulder. That's, instead of marking 8, I'll be marking 7. So if yours is 9, you can mark 8, just minus 1 inch from that part. So I just mark my neck width for at 3. Now my neck depth, I used 5. You can use 4, you can use 3, you can use, it depends on how deep you want the neck to look. Okay, so that can vary with your preference. Okay, so I'm just curving up my neck. Then at my shoulder measurement, at that point where I marked my 7 inches, I'll be coming down by 1 inch. Then I'll connect it from this point to that 1 inch I just marked. Okay, it's as simple as that. Now for my waist measurement, the circumference around my waist, I'm going to be dividing it by 2. What I have as my circumference around my waist is 34. 34 divided by 2, I have 17. Then I'll be dividing this 17 by 2 to give me 8.5. Now at 8.5, I will not be marking it on my sheet. I will still divide this 8.5 by 2 again by folding my tape this way. Then I will get 4.25. So I'll be marking at 4.2 something on this my sheet. Okay, please, you can easily divide your waist circumference, the whole of your waist circumference, by 8 inches. That will give you the same thing that you do you get when you divide by 4, then fold into 2 again. Okay, you're doing this because you are going to be using this on a folded sheet. Or you divide your waist measurement by 4, you divide again by 2. So from that point where I marked my 1 inch for my shoulder slant, I just connected it to this my waist measurement. All right, and this is it. So I'll just simply cut it out. Once you are done with this part, you are almost done. The back is not that hard to cut. All right, so for the back now, look at how the front looks. Anyway, it's this simple. Now just fold it back so I can mark my cut out my back sheet. All right, so it's just about the same thing for my back. The only difference between the front and the back is the neck. The neck, you can still make it to be the same neck, it depends on your preference, but me, I'll be wanting my neck to go up. At least I'll be having 3 inches or 2 inches. It depends on what you want. You can go with 3 inches, you can go with 2 inches. Okay, if you want it to be down at the back, it's still your choice. So with this now, I'll just cut out for my back. So my front and my back, they are both ready. So I'll just quickly go ahead and tag them so I can place them on my fabric and cut it out. Okay, so on this fabric now, I divided, I'm going to be folding this fabric into 2, just this way, just the same way I folded the sheets. So I'm going to be placing my patterns on top of the fabric, trace them out perfectly, and then cut it out. So that's what I will be doing now. Okay, so I'll just do the same thing for the back pattern as well. Please do this very carefully. Okay, so now that we're done cutting out these important parts, okay, we're going to go ahead and cut out the lining and cut out the hairstay. Now this hairstay is typically your choice. you can decide to sew without the stay. You can still use the stay. It depends on what you want. Now look at the way I'm placing this stay. I'm placing this stay at the back of my fabric. I am placing it at the back of my fabric. Then I'll place my lining in front of the fabric, at the right side of the fabric. Okay, I'll still lift it up so you can see how it is. Look at the way I placed it. Now I will just sew my neckline round this way. Okay, so for my band, you know the pinafore has a band, so I'm going to be, I just marked 2.5 inches for this band, and I have 2. You know my waist is about 34, so I have this long band of 34 inches. Now I just kept that aside. When we get there, I'll explain more. Now this is the front and the back. I have already turned them, so you see how it looks. I'm going to turn it over back this way so that I can, you know, stitch the sides, this part and then this side of each of them. I'm going to be stitching this part on each of them. So I'll just stitch this part and stitch that part as well. Okay, let me just do that and show you. So this is how it looks. Okay, so I'll just flip it over so you see how it looks, how neatly done it is. So this is how it looks. So I am going to be joining the shoulder. Now this is where it gets tricky. Please just watch out. See the way I'm putting this. I'm putting one of the shoulder into another. This is how you will do it. It's this simple. Okay, just put in the shoulder into another, then flip out from the other side, just the same way I'm just doing it. Put your hand through and then get the other part so that the two shoulders will be meeting each other. Just this way. It's very simple. Okay, and then you stitch there, and you do the same thing for the other side. I'll still do it again so you see how it is. Okay, I just put this in here just this way, and then I'll put my hand through so I can fold it out. I can bring it out. Okay, then once I am sure they are together, I'll stitch it up. Okay, so I did the same for the other side, and this is how it looks. And decide to safely pin it to ensure that you're not leaving any side out. Okay, when you are sure that you have safely pinned it, then you can now run your stitch on it. So I just safely pinned the two sleeves, and then I just ran my stitch on it, the two shoulders rather, please. So this is how it looks. It's very easy, and you can see how neat it looks. Very easy method, and it looks very neat. So I'll just quickly flip this over so you see how it looks. So you can see how the back looks now. It's so neat and simple to, you know, to do. So I'll just be tackling my band now. Now for this band, I just told you I have 2.5 inches for this band. Now when I fold this, don't forget that one is going to be the facing. I'm not using any lining for this band, so one of this band is going to be the facing. Two of them are both 34 inches plus my zipper allowance. All right, because my waist is 34. You have to ensure that you have your whole waist circumference on this band. Okay, so I folded it into 2 now, so I'm supposed to have 17 on each of them. Okay, so I'm just notching the midpoint because I'm going to be cutting it out. I'm going to be cutting this 34 into 2 halves. All right, so for the front and for the band, for the front and for the back rather, please. So it's totally optional as well. You can decide to make it a full round, you know, something without cutting it, but I am marking 17 for my waist, and then at 18 for my zipper allowance. You can decide to use 1.5 inch for your zipper allowance, but I'm just using 1 since it's a gathered, you know, gathered skirt down. All right, so this is it. So I'm just dividing this into 2 halves. Then I'll notch. After dividing it into two, I just folded it again into another two. Then I notched the midpoint for this upper part and for the lower part, just this way. I also notched this part. I'm getting the midpoint of the front and the back, because all these midpoints are really very important. They are very important for this sewing this pinafore, right? So I'm going to be using 2 for each. Now just watch carefully the way I'm going to place it. Now for this notch part, you saw the way I placed it. I made sure that the 2 notched points met each other. Then I put another one under, making sure that it is lying on that notched part. I don't know what you may not be able to see it clearly, but the notched parts are meeting each other. The 3 notched part, the upper part, the pinafore itself, then the lower part of the band, they are meeting each other. Okay, so you can see how it looks. Just place them the same way I placed mine. Make sure that you secure those notched parts. Those notched parts are very important. That middle part is not even that side that you divided into 2. These middle parts, they're so important. So I'm just securing it with my pin. I'll do the same thing for the other side. Okay, I'll place it again so you can see how it looks. I place this part, then make sure that the notched part meets the other one, and I use the other one as a facing. So I am also going to secure this with a pin. I'm not pinning the upper part together, I'm pinning them differently, the front and the back. Okay, so this is how it looks. So when you are done stitching it, when you have already stitched it, this is how it should look. Okay, it should come out as neat as this. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and ensure that my waist measurement is intact. Okay, and I want to ensure that that point I notched is the midpoint. All right, because I'm going to be joining the lower part of this my dress. Now you can decide to use a pencil skirt for this part. You can decide to use a straight skirt. You can decide to use a pant for this. You can decide to use a gathered skirt for this part. It depends on what you want for the lower part. Okay, so just see the same way I'm pinning it. I'm going to stitch this now so you can see how it's going to look. So I'm going to be stitching this part. That lower part, I'm going to stitch it first before I fold this in. Let me just stitch it in first so I can show you. So I stitch this in first, then I'm going to be folding this way, and then I'll rest on this, and then I'll run a stitch on it. I will do this thing for the front and also do it for the back. So this is how it looks at the back. Very easy to make. This is so simple to make. Please, so if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel up till now, kindly subscribe and let us grow together. Help this channel to grow. Okay, thank you, and leave your comments. Give me a thumbs up as well. All right, thank you. So I'm just going ahead to shaping the gown with my waist measurements, and then don't forget to insert your zip. Okay, and I put my zip at the right side. Okay, so this is all for this gown. Very simple. Thank you for watching.